August, a trans man, and Sid, a lesbian, had survived adolescence and coming out to the world, but were now on a journey to find love and acceptance, forging a life for themselves. They would find each other in a story reminiscent of a Hollywood rom-com, but would come to find out that their unconventional queer relationship would bring up outside pressures and stigma that only trial by fire could teach, receiving discrimination from the general outside world, medical field, and even within the wider LGBTQ+ community. They were queer but passed as straight, forcing them to live conflicting identities that people both inside their community and outside struggled to understand, making their journey to forge a life together a lonely one. But still, they persisted. All right, August, so we'll start with you. Why don't you tell us the story from your perspective of what it was like when you met Sid?
All right, so it was kind of it's a long-ish story because I met Sid in the beginning of 2017, like within a few weeks of getting on hormones, and I had blonde hair and I was going by the name Leo, and I walked into this like...
That's a heartbreaker's name right there, Leo.
Yes, it was. And I walked into this art festival and I saw this ridiculously cute girl wearing a little paperboy hat, and I was like, who's that? So I went over to talk to her, and her girlfriend came up and blocked the conversation pretty immediately. And so I walked away, but like still knowing that there was something special. I was like, that girl's special. It didn't matter, I knew it. And then like 9 months later, beginning of October, I saw her at the Abbey, the chapel, Wednesday night. Lady night. Yeah. And she was not with that girl anymore. And I could tell that she was not with her anymore. So a couple, we all go on Wednesdays. I feel like everyone has their one spot. And when we used to go out,
it was the place to be.
It was the place to go. And I would go with, my group of friends. And then I tried to talk to Sid, but she had expert RBF and is very scary at her size. Very scary. And I couldn't do it. You were ignoring me. You didn't want to pay attention. No. At one point I tried to like dance away when she shut me down, ended up tripping and knocking her over. My friends literally laughed at me the whole night. It was super smooth. And then the last time I hung out with Sid, I'd actually, because we'd been like in the same space, I'd become friends with one of her friends and like her friend group. And we met up on Halloween, and I was DD and Sid was drunk, and I took care of her all night. And when I took care of her all night long for like hours. And then at the end of the night, I asked her for her number, and she's like, no, you can have my Instagram. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, you're not interested. No biggie. Hope you have a great night. Like, I'll see you around. And she slid into my DMs a few days later.
Yep.
Yeah. All you had to do was tell the girl no.
Pretty much.
So, Sid, I bet it's a little bit of a different story from your perspective.
Yeah.
Was August a bit of a fly you were swatting away for a little while at least?
I think I was kind of like, why is this? It just didn't click in my head that it was just, that he was trans, but also that I was like, oh, why is he here? Like, why does he keep coming and talking to me? Like, do I know him? Like, how do I know him? It was just kind of just like, who are you? And I was also, going through like a phase where I had, I just gotten out of a relationship. So it was kind of like making out with a different girl every time. I was just kind of,
a
little make-out queen. And at the art show, when he first came over, I remember thinking, I was like, I don't know what gender he is. I don't know if he's a very like androgynous lesbian or a guy or what, but I remember thinking, oh, he's cute. Like, I remember that thought going through my head.
Amen, sister. August is.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been cute. And so later, it took me a while, and I was like, oh, wait, I remember you. And so, yeah, I think, I didn't really realize my friends were friends with him, so he was always, around. And finally, when Halloween came, I was so drunk. I remember I was dressed as Harley Quinn, and I had like a latex suit on, and you were Top Gun. And we just, partied here, partied there, walked around all of West Hollywood pretty much that night.
Yep.
And he drove us home, and I was like the last person to get out of the car. And he was just like, oh, can I have your number? And I was like, no, you can have my Instagram. And he was just like, yeah, no, I don't want your Instagram. I get the point. You don't want to talk. I was like, oh, okay. And so I remember like finding him on Instagram, and sending him to my mom. And I was like, I think this guy's really cute. I don't know what it is about him. Like, I keep seeing him around, but he's just really cute. And I was like, am I straight? What's happening? I've never been attracted to a guy like this before. And my mom stalks his Instagram. And he was like, Sid, he's trans. Like, how did you not realize that he was trans? I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. No wonder he's going to ladies' night at the Abbey on Wednesdays. Like, why wouldn't I make that connection? And all of my friends knew he was trans. And I was like, why did no one tell me? Like, why did no one tell me that this?
And I didn't realize I had to come out. You know, I was like 9 months into my.
It was like reverse.
And so I like, into his DMs, and I was like, hey, you want to go to like Six Flags or something?
Oh, you wanted to go to horror nights.
Haunted horror nights. And he was like, yeah, I don't do horror. Like,
I'm a big baby. I don't like horror.
He was like, I don't want to be scared in front of this girl on her first date. So we hung out, and then we kind of were inseparable ever since. You know, he took me to a Haley Kiyoko concert, like one of our first dates.
Yeah.
And we had this movie magical kiss that just, really set it in stone.
It did. It was an epic kiss.
It was just, like beautiful moment.
It was a beautiful moment.
I interrupt this program to remind you to like this video and subscribe with push notifications on. So prior to the pandemic, can you tell us how your relationship progressed? Were there any specific hurdles or struggles you guys had to overface together?
Yeah, I think our relationship was a little different. I feel like everyone has different kinds of relationship, but Sid was very shy.
I was very quiet. I had kind of always been like a pedestal girlfriend, the hot piece on someone's arm, and no one wanted to get to know me. So it was kind of like when
Which is such a shame, because you're brilliant and you're creative and you're obviously gorgeous, so we see why you're on the pedestal. But just where you're speaking and using your talents.
Yeah, so our relationship kind of started more as like a physical going out kind of thing, and then after a few months I was like, hey, like I really like you, I like spending time, however I have nothing left to say, I can't keep this conversation up. And I was like, wait, you want to get to know me? What? Wait, like you want to hear what I have to say? Which I just like I'd never had someone who really was like interested in getting to like deeply know me, I guess. So. Yeah. And then you had like a series of seizures. Yeah, I was, I still don't know exactly the cause of them, but I was like working a really stressful job, and just like I had this whole string of seizures. I lost my job, and he kind of just had to take care of me. Yeah, I took care of you for a while, and then she went home for a while, and I missed her the entire time. So when she got back, didn't expect to miss me so much. I didn't expect to miss you as much as I did. And so then we got back, it was pretty much the same thing, and then you got a new job, which became stressful again. I was working all the time. We moved, and we ended up moving in together. We'd always kind of lived together, but like we officially signed a lease together. Yeah. And then you started your party girl phase. Yeah, and I had this little party girl phase where I was kind of bratty. I didn't want to be told what to do or how to, not told what to do, but to be, like he was like, hey, you're kind of being a brat. You
don't want to be checked in on. That was the thing. Now, it's important to note that with this, there's a bit of an age difference, not creepily difference, just a difference. What is that?
3 years. 3 years, yeah. But, I feel like those 21 to 24 are really big years. Yeah, to, I'm 24 now. Out. He's 27, so. I was like,
I guess totally what my point is that for Sid, what you were dealing with is you were going through the stages of like independence, feeling that wanting to be out on your own, where August had already been through that. And it's not that he was being controlling in any way. It was just that he was like, I'm ready to sit at home, watch Netflix all night. Well, you're like, girl, I want to go out with David Dobrik and party. Yes?
Exactly. Yeah. And it was kind of one of those things where I wanted her to experience that, but I also felt like, there has to be enough respect in the relationship in order to keep it going. And I wasn't really being respectful. I was kind of I wasn't texting him that I was safe or where I was or what I was doing, and it's just this. I was also not wearing like any clothes, so he was a little like worried. He was kind of like, the outfit's just a little short. I just want to let you know. I want her to be safe. Yeah, no, always in a safe way. It comes off wrong, I swear, but it wasn't. It always like comes out like he's being.
No, I don't think it comes out as bullying or controlling. I think it comes out as caring and respectful is what I see from it. Because if you love somebody, you want to protect them, especially if you've kind of been through the ringer maybe a little bit more than them. You know what I'm saying? It's not controlling. Controlling is a different level.
It's a different level, and then I kind of, realized, I was
realizing that, he was way more important than partying with these people that I probably wasn't going to talk to for more than like this partying phase. Like, I wasn't making any lifelong connections or anything.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have him in my life lifelong. So
But then we got like COVID together.
yeah.
Towards like in December 2019, and got super sick.
And we thought it was mono at first because I don't get sick like ever. And we were sick for months, like 2 months, and it wiped his immune system. We could barely go up the stairs without being winded completely.
Yeah, it was crazy, Bobo.
It was so crazy.
And then I got influenza. And actually, the crazy thing was I went to the hospital January 23rd, 2020 for influenza. And then exactly 1 year later, Bo was born at the same hospital. But
we had a really bad experience at that hospital.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like we hadn't faced a lot of like homophobia or transphobia, but then at the
in
hospital,
the medical field, there's a lot of transphobia within and a lot of discrimination. So, when I went into the hospital in December of 2020, I still had a chest. It was not small. And the nurses were incredible, but the doctor was super transphobic. And he actually told me that I had HIV with no diagnosis or no blood test.
He was like, you're probably using dirty needles.
Just kind of like assumptions. And so I feel like that kind of brought us, closer together too, because
it was like we'd never kind of faced that, especially where I'd been around to see him be treated in that way. He wouldn't call me his girlfriend. It was just this like, oh, like this is still happening, like, oh my god, like in California at this hospital.
But I think for medicine, one of the things that is difficult is that because it takes so long to get to the point where you can be a practicing physician, it's going to be always one of those fields that trails behind in rights issues and in social topics, because when it takes 6 years plus a 4-year undergraduate degree to start practicing, well then we're like, okay, well we're 12 years behind, which it's not an excuse, but it's just something that we have to be conscious of as a society.
Yeah, I think the doctor was just genuinely confused. That passability confused him when it came to the fact that I was born female, and like having those two conflicting things where you see one thing yet the paperwork and the blood work say a different thing. I think that disconnect is there. And I like to say that passing privilege is conditionary privilege to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, I'm still trans and I still have that, like, I still live with that reality on a daily basis. And so this, hospital visit was one of those things that really puts you back into that like position where it's like, this is still something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. This is not just like really clear once you get to a certain point.
Yeah.
But actually quarantine brought us, I think, a lot closer together.
Yeah. Cause like after that, you were sick for a while. It took you a while to recover from influenza B after having COVID because your immune system was so wiped. And that was around February. Yeah. And then everything was starting to lock down at that point. I'd lost my job. And so we were kind of home all the time together.
So when you were having the COVID, you didn't even know that you had COVID?
No, it was too early.
It wasn't a thing. They weren't even testing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Coming up on TMO After Hours. As the world shut down following the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, August, a trans man, prepared for his life-changing top surgery, while at the same time his girlfriend, Sid, was dealing with an undiagnosed medical condition that caused pain, illness, and depression. As the pandemic progressed, August's surgery received several delays, Sid's illness worsened, and they faced the discrimination from the medical community. The couple struggled to cope with the stress, but still forged ahead together. Neither could have known the life-changing gift they were about to be given. All this and more on the next TMO After Hours. Click the green box to see part 1 of my interview series with August and Sid, blue to subscribe, and pink to see the full series playlist. I'm your boy Timo. Until next time, keep your smile side up.